Recording in progress.
Please be quiet. So we called meeting to order at 6:03, and it's my pleasure to introduce students of Ingrid B. Lacey Middle School, Max, Emily, Sochil, Katie, Juliet, and Elizabeth, who will lead us in the flag salute, read the land acknowledgement, and provide highlights at their school.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are now going to read the land acknowledgement. The Pacifica School District acknowledges that we gather our unceded and ancestral homelands of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. As guests, we humbly extend our gratitude to the Ramaytush Ohlone elders and community. We recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland, and we affirm their sovereign rights as First People. As the original stewards of this land, the Ramaytush Ohlone the Ramaytush Ohlone understand the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of maintaining harmony with nature. Likewise, Pacifica School District commits to teaching our school community how to be responsible stewards of this land.
Hi, I'm Max Ray, and I am an 8th grade peer helper at Ingrid B. Lacey.
Hello, I am Emily Murray, and I am a 7th grade peer helper at Ingrid B. Lacey.
Hello, I'm Sochil Palomino, and I'm a 7th grader at Ingrid B. Lacey. Hello, I'm Katie Kell, and I'm a 7th grade peer helper at Ingrid B. Lacey. Hello, I'm Elizabeth Brennan, and I'm a 7th grade peer helper at Ingrid B. Lacey.
Some of the things that I would like to talk about today is peer helping, as well as being an 8th grade student at IBF. As peer helpers, we try to contribute to the fact of our school being a safe space for anyone and everyone. Peer helping was really fun last year, and I'm sure it will be this year with how many 7th graders we have this year. For the past 2 years, I felt very comforted and safe at school, and I'm very glad to have become a peer helper. Ms. McCarthy, our school counselor, has given me and many others a welcoming environment along with other staff members at our school.
For the new students coming in, we would like to make sure that they feel welcomed at our school and that they feel comfortable, because we want our whole school community to feel like a whole family. We want everyone to be included, not excluded, in all activities that we do at school.
Before the beginning of each school year, peer helpers help out with orientations for incoming 6th graders, where we will gather groups of students in a certain teacher's homeroom, and we will tour them around the school, not just to the homeroom teachers' classrooms. Starting in December, if there are any parents out there that have any 5th graders who are interested in going to either be Lacey for middle school, like I said, in December, we start 5th grade tours led by our school counselor, Ms. McCarthy, and Ms. Alderson, our principal.
Peer helpers has been a super fun experience already, and to add to that, we're starting to talk about peer mediation. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to start resolving conflicts between students at our school with the San Mateo County Office of Education. We're also extremely lucky to be doing this kind of stuff because our district, Pacifica School District, we're the first district in our entire county to be doing this peer mediations. And for example, one of the things we're going to be doing while peer mediating is hold conferences between the students. Conferences are basically where peer helpers will facilitate meetings among the students, while the students work out whatever the case is. But before we hold these conferences, we're required to have a one-on-one talk with both students, or however many students there are in this case. And most importantly, we must ask the student for their consent to hold one of these conferences. We aren't going to force anyone to do anything they are uncomfortable. Even if just one student says no to the conferences, it's enough. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask once it's Q&A time or question and answer. You guys want to add?
Even though I haven't been in peer helpers for a whole year yet, I still feel like it's been a great community and it's been really welcoming. And I'm excited to get to welcome others to my school. I also haven't been in peer helpers very long, but I feel like it is a very welcoming community and it's good to have it in school.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Barbara, can you take the roll?
Yes, trustee Griswold absent, trustee Martin here, trustee Doggett is absent, trustee Sal.
Here.
Trustee Gillow.
Here. The district records the audio portion of the meetings. All recordings are kept in the superintendent's office for 30 days and are available during that time period for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. In-person speakers wishing to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items, please complete a request card with your name, address, and the item number and submit it to the board president or vice president. You will be called to address the board and may speak for up to 3 minutes. Virtual speakers wishing to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items, please submit your first and last name and agenda item you wish to speak on in the Q&A area of the webinar. Please do not submit comments or questions in the Q&A area. You will be called to address the board. Your microphone will be unmuted and you may speak for up to 3 minutes. Please note, the public is welcome to provide comment to the board. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes unless extended or limited by vote of the board. A maximum of 20 minutes unless extended by the board is allocated for each subject discussed. The Brown Act open meeting regulations under which the board must operate do not allow board members to comment on non-agenda items or information you may bring up that are not on the agenda. Additionally, no action can be taken. However, the board may give direction to staff following a comment. And we are on number 6, approval of the agenda. And this is an action item. Are there any questions?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 3-0.
And number 7, report out on closed session items. The board met in closed session to discuss the closed session items. A, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. 1, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraphs D2 and E1 of section 54956.9 of the government code, 1 potential case. No action was taken. So now we're on the approval of the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be approved with one motion, which is not debatable and which requires a unanimous vote for passage. If any board member, superintendent, or public so requests, any item shall be removed from this section and placed in the regular order of business following approval of the consent agenda. Are there any questions?
Nope.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 3-0.
We're moving on to number 9, superintendent and board special recognitions. Nick Salino will be honored for his service to the families of Ingrid B. Lacey and the greater Pacifica community.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure this evening for us to honor one of our very own heroes in our community. And this evening, we will be honoring Mr. Nick Zeno. Mr. Nick Zeno has served as a volunteer at IBL for several months and years now. And he is described as one who is very connected to students, who always has something kind to say to a student and is always there to lend a helping hand. Not only that, one of the teachers gave us a quote, and she said, "I hit the jackpot when I was assigned Nick as a volunteer to help me with my small reading intervention group. Nick signed up to take on helping with reading groups a couple of times a week. He said it was something he wanted a little experience in as he considers the shift in his career to education. To his original commitment, he is as solid as a rock. In addition, he has shown that he is reliable. He is willing to help wherever help is needed without a question. And he likes to spend extra time learning how to do the placement test and then deliver the intervention lessons by going through training sessions and practicing on his own. He also likes to support students and to make sure that kids feel a sense of resilience and also success. We are proud to say that he's a natural teacher, and there is hope that he will get his credential. Not only hope, we are encouraging him and supporting him, and we have programs in place to really support you in doing that. But for him to attain his credential and to come back and work for IBL as an instructor in the future. Nick has gone over and beyond, above and beyond, and he is much more than what could have been expected. Without him, the extra students that are in the classrooms that may need a little extra support in improving their ability may not have occurred. So we just extend our gratitude to you, Nick, for devoting your time, your expertise, and also your desire to want to be a teacher and join the profession of heroes. So this evening, we thank you, we honor you, and we just wrap our arms around you as you one day come on to Pacifica as a teacher. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And we are glad that you're here and glad to honor you. And our kids appreciate everything that you do as well. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to extend a thank you to everyone at IBL, especially Ms. Solano. This experience has been extremely valuable for me as I embark on this journey to hopefully become a teacher or an educator. So yeah, just thank you so much. This means a lot to me.
Oh, and on behalf Pacifica School District Board of Trustees and Superintendent presents the certificate of appreciation awarded to Nick Zeno. Thank you for your service and commitment to our students and staff. Awarded this 30th day of October 2024.
Thank you.
Press that. Sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, number 10, communications, LSEA.
Less than a week till Election Day, LSEA is very hopeful and optimistic that Measure EE parcel tax for our school district passes. We are very grateful to Tara Knotts, Michelle Gray, and Bridget Hart for their continued service to get this done. LSEA would like to give a special thank you to our retired union members who donated to the campaign. They know how important this is for the school district. They remember how much effort our union puts in behind the scenes to get a parcel passed. LSEA had negotiations on Monday, October 21st, and settled some confusion the payroll department had about reading our contract language. We were frustrated this was holding up payment for our members. We also discussed the continued challenges around IEP meetings and defining professional responsibilities. This past week, LSCA showed support for Los Lomitas Education Association in Menlo Park. Earlier this year, Cabrillo Unified Teachers Association was in tough negotiations on the verge of a strike. And now yet another district in San Mateo County was enduring challenging negotiations. They unfortunately did go out on a 3-day strike, but they settled this weekend. We are grateful they are back to work with their students and that they settled a fair agreement. We are thankful to all the locals in San Mateo County and throughout CTA that united behind this union in collective action. Our union is strong and expands beyond this district. LSCA members have been participating in parcel tax committees, report card committees, curriculum committees, and special ed committees. Our union meetings have been opportunities to share out this information and recruit additional participants to ensure a breadth of school and grade level representation. As usual, board members, you are always welcome to join these meetings to hear reports and discussions from our members. Here's hoping we all have a good election day for our public schools in the local, state, and national levels. Thank you.
CSEA,
Hi.
Tiffany?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tiffany Hanna, CSEA co-president. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of CSEA. Yesterday, Charlene and I had the pleasure of meeting with the superintendent, the majority of the cabinet, and 2 of our site principals. I want to express how meaningful that was for all of us. Effective communication is key to creating a successful and unified learning environment. Our meeting was a reminder of our shared purpose and the commitment we all have to the success of our schools. We value every opportunity to connect with our leadership team and the board. Working together strengthens the bonds that support our students, staff, and community as a whole. While we're talking about collaboration, I also want to remind everyone here of the importance of civic engagement. If you haven't already, I encourage each of you to get out and vote in the upcoming election. Our voices matter, especially in decisions that shape our school and communities. Let's continue setting an example of active participation for our students, showing them how every vote contributes to positive change. Thank you for your ongoing partnership and for your commitment to excellence in our schools. Let's continue to have a productive year together.
Student board representative.
Hello, my name is Mateo Verlanik, and I am here, and I am in a 8th grade middle schooler who goes to IBL Middle School. I'd like to read an update from Chloe Yobard, our other superintendent student advisory council representative, who couldn't be at tonight's meeting. We recently had the Fall Fest, which was super fun, and we have a dance coming up. We also have had Family Day yesterday, when we get to spend time with the younger students, which helps strengthen our community at Bellymore. An important topic that has been raised is the bathroom issues. The bathrooms are almost always overcrowded, don't have toilet seat covers, and are often vandalized. I want to work with the Student Advisory Committee and other Ballymore students to help solve this problem. And now for IBL activities. This Halloween week, IBL will have a costume contest on Halloween with 5 categories. Those categories being best costume, best group costume, scariest costume, funniest costume, best homemade costume, and most creative costume. The Red Ribbon Door decorating contest was also held this week on Tuesday, with the school winners for each grade being Miss Toomey's class for 6th grade, Mr. Sewell's class for 7th, and Mr. Bolter's class for 8th. But the winner of the police department's judging has not been determined yet. There is also no school Friday, as it is Professional Development Day for teachers, and it is a minimum day Thursday for Halloween. Thank you.
Right, moving on to 10D, people wishing to address the board.
Okay, we have a few. We will start with Karen Knotts.
It's a challenge to be both rallying for the school district support wise and be a little upset and also need you for the future, but here I am. The things that, I guess the thing I want to express more is almost the feeling of offense of not getting to know our schools, our staff, our parents. And I know you guys are having all kinds of advice, outsiders, consultants, lawyers, new district staff that maybe not used to the weird, quirky Bay Area districts. You are getting tons of advice from lots of people, and I have to imagine you have to balance that ideal, that safest, most economically efficient, most legally safe with the reality that we're dealing with, the community, this little tiny town where most people know a lot of people. At the PTO meeting with the PTO presidents and the CPAC and several cabinet members, where we discussed parent volunteers, particularly parent driving volunteers. From what I can tell, most other sites other than Ocean Shore were not as impacted by a decision to have to make a change to whether or not there were parent volunteers that could drive or not. And it felt like Ocean Shore maybe needed their own meeting, because if you know Ocean Shore, you know how big of a deal being told suddenly no field trips would have felt. It's big, it's huge, it's part of the program, not just for the parents and the kids, but also the teachers. Another thing is that things were expressed that were concerning to me. One person wondered if Ocean Shore scores are low because we go on too many field trips. But if you look at the history of Ocean Shore, their scores have not been low and had lots of field trips, more in the past than now. Another person was not so familiar with how we are so careful about keeping all the regulations, all the documentation, making sure people are on the up and up and don't do it for very expensively. And another person wondered about equity. And I get, it looks like Ocean Shore gets more sometimes, but within Ocean Shore's community, not all parents can help. One parent that can't drive, another parent can drive. It shares the wealth, and Ocean Shore can share the wealth with other districts. We can teach other schools. We can teach other schools how to get more volunteers, to draw people in, to share Oceans Week, to share other programs. I just invite the board to really, and the new cabinet members to get to know each site, not just Ocean Shore, know your gifts. Before you make all these changes, know the treasures you have in each of your sites. And then you can balance that out with the hard decisions you have to make with all the legal stuff and all the budget stuff that you're going to have to make. Thank you.
Next, we have Marguerite Rodriguez.
Good evening. My name is Marguerite. I'm a teacher at Ocean Shore and the parent of 2 Pacifica School District graduates. Our family came to the Ocean Shore community as the parent of a kindergartner in 2002 and again in 2004. I'm proud to say that both of these Ocean Shore and Terra Nova graduates have flown our nest and are making their way in the world as kind, well-rounded, productive citizens. Who could ask for more? I will be the first to admit that back in the day, a lot happened in this district on winks and handshakes. And yet somehow we not only survived, but thrived. As rules and procedures evolved, so did we. Through the hard work and dedication of the PTO, teachers, staff, and parents, we have developed systems for ensuring the safety of our students while we are out with them in the communities learning. We value and encourage parent participation. We provide training as needed. We assist them in getting their live scans done. We explain the need for them to increase their insurance to certain levels. We meet with them to explain standards and procedures for field trips and assisting in the classroom. You name it, we have done it. But it seems that the goalpost just keeps getting moved, not because of a problem, but because another agenda is afoot. The expectation of abruptly canceling field trips for which deposits have been placed, supplies purchased, and parents committed is unconscionable as well as just plain unreasonable. It does not serve the children well. I would direct you to the mission statement. We respectfully request your support in preserving the cornerstone of our very successful experiential learning program. Please be fully transparent with what we need to do to comply with the insurance issues that are cited as the reason for the short-sighted edict. I'm confident that once we have all the facts, we will be able to craft a solution that satisfies insurance and safety concerns and allows this invaluable tradition of learning to continue. Thank you.
Next is Kelly Edelhart.
Hi, I'm a teacher at Valamar, 4th grade. Picture this, it's midnight on August 26th, and rather than being in the middle of a restful night's sleep, I'm nervously watching the clock, waiting for the moment I can get on Monterey Bay Aquarium's website to see if I can possibly get a coveted spot for our field trip. Assuming I can get a spot, I then go through weeks of discussion and planning with my colleagues, lining up parent drivers, and making sure all students and chaperones have their paperwork in order. A week before the event, I'm spending hours each day gathering chaperone documents, placing kids in cars, and allaying parent fears. All of this is so these students can get the opportunity to be the strong, smart, curious learners we profess to want them to be. Concurrently, this district is apparently having discussions about changes to the field trip requirements. To my understanding, no teachers were aware or involved in these discussions. Then a rumor started to swirl that a decision had been made to significantly limit the ways parents can support field trips. No clear communication from the DO was made or even contemplated, apparently. So I'm left to try and plan for a field trip that may happen and a field trip that may be canceled, all during an already stressful week full of fall conferences. Once again, when the district makes a change, the last group that they feel is worth communicating with are the teachers. While the district apparently thought that providing PTO with an update was a priority, the teachers in charge of thinking up, planning, and organizing and executing the field trips were left in the dark. Teachers are left to provide communication about unclear policy to the parents who may have taken time off work, paid for live scans, or talked to their kids about how excited they were to go on the field trip. Teachers are left to handle their students' uncertainties and disappointments about a field trip that had originally been an exciting opportunity. Teachers are left to manage and hopefully retain the relationships built over decades with trip venues that may have to bear the cost of this remarkably fast policy change. All of this without even the courtesy of direct communication. So I'm here tonight to ask the board one question. Do teachers matter? While we hear endless platitudes about our desire to make our district successful and our desire to attract and retain top teaching talent, the actions of this board and the district staff make it clear that it's not really true. A district where teachers matter would make sure that clear, consistent, and frequent communication and engagement was the rule and not the exception. A district where teachers matter would look to remove roadblocks to opportunities for expansive learning. A district where teachers matter would not so blithely dismiss the effort and care that teachers put into these experiences for students. A district where teachers matter would be one where teachers weren't seen as simply a staffing cost, but as the heart and soul of the community. Unless something changes, Pacifica School District is clearly not a district where we matter.
Kendra Vara. Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Okay, you're fine.
Hi, my name is Kendra Vara, and I'm the mother of a 4th grader at Ocean Shore, and I have 2 other kids who went through the program, and I'm the PTO treasurer. I'm here to speak about the recent decision by the cabinet to discontinue parent drivers on field trips throughout the district. I'd like to start off by saying that parents are extremely frustrated by the way this was communicated, and these same parents are the people we need to show up next Tuesday and vote for Measure EE. We need them to have confidence in our district staff and our school board. I want the district to understand making this decision so abruptly would be extremely disruptive to our school. Our PTO sets a budget every year. We meet with our teachers during the summer to figure out where the PTO money is best spent in order to serve our teachers and students. We bring this budget to our entire school community and vote on it. Our teachers book field trips. Our parents request time off from work well in advance in order to drive their kids to these field trips. By instituting this in the middle of the school year with no advance warning, you're forcing PTOs and schools to throw away both time and money they've already spent to organize these trips. They're also an integral part of our teachers' classroom planning and are blended with their lesson plans. Canceling them now forces our teachers, who are already overworked, to try to figure out alternative plans with short notice. Furthermore, the way this decision was reached and communicated makes me think that the cabinet doesn't really understand the value that these trips provide or how dedicated our teachers are to making them happen. Yesterday, I took the day off from work and drove 4 students from Virginia's 4-5 class to the California State Railroad Museum in Sacramento. Docents weren't available for a guided tour, so our teacher, Virginia, drove to Sacramento last Saturday to go through the program so she could teach it to our 4th and 5th graders. She gave up her Saturday to drive to Sacramento to better familiarize herself with the museum so she could drive up again yesterday and give that experience to her students. This trip fits into the 4-5 social studies curriculum on westward expansion, and it gives the children a point of view that they can't get in the classroom. When we got home last night, my daughter talked to her dad about the experience of the Chinese laborers who built the railroads, and it was clear that she'd come away with a real connection to the history that she couldn't just get inside a classroom. Finally, I think that parents and teachers deserve a better explanation about why this change is being proposed at all. The safety risk is not greater this week than it was last week, or last year, or 10 years ago, or 40 years ago when Ocean Shore parents and teachers started taking students on field trips. Now the district has decided that this is all so unacceptable that it must be stopped immediately. A drastic change like that needs a solid and understandable explanation, not hush-hush meetings and requests to wait for you to get your ducks in a row. My request to the district is simple and straightforward. Slow down and make sure that we make the correct decision. We need to get this right. I'm sure you're aware that we aren't the only school district to think about how to safely provide transportation for field trips. Mountain View School District went through this last year, and their board's decision was to direct the district staff to take the time to research, come up with alternatives, and present a plan for how to provide safe transportation. All we are asking for is the Pacifica School District to approach this with the same level of thoroughness and consideration.
The next speaker is Karen Key.
Hi, I'm Karen Key. I'm the co-president at Ocean Shore. I've got a 8th grade at Ocean Shore and twins in 5th grade, and one of them is in Virginia's class. And it's been amazing, these field trips. I've come from London 2 years ago, where our field trips were not as just so well organized and planned, and overnight trips were not as experiential as we've had this last year just passed. And the whole thing about the field trips just kind of took us all by surprise, and it really hit a raw nerve, as you can tell by the number of people who've come up to speak today. And really, I think, we want to work, the PTO wants to work with the school district. We want to unblock the blockages. So, what we want to know is this got to do with the SAM training, the sexual abuse and molestation? Because if it does, Ocean Shore got our act together. We've got our parents on Vector, and in 2 weeks, 30% of parents have completed their mandated reporter training. From my quick read of legislation, because I'm a UK transplant, I think this got to do with AB 506, which is a Californian legislation that says all regular volunteers that volunteers more than 16 hours a month or 32 hours a year needs to do mandated reporter training, and our parents are willing to step up, take the time to do it. So I think if we can find ways around this, if this is about SAM training, we can help. I'm even willing to sit at a computer and do all the volunteer input for all the schools. I'll do it for Valimar, I'll do it for Cabrillo, I'll do it for the whole Pacifica School District, because, I really feel that this is something we need to keep. We need to keep the field trips going because they provide experiences that you can't get in a classroom, especially with learners that are very kinetic in learning. People who need to do things with their hands. They need to run around and see the displays. You can't quite get that when you're sitting in the classroom with PowerPoint, deaf by PowerPoint. We've all been there, deaf by PowerPoint, haven't we? I don't know. Certainly I have. Sometimes I do that in my talks. I try not to. But, so really, I think we need to slow down. We really need to get to the end of the school year with the current arrangements, because it's really hard for us to rearrange. We looked at how much it costs to charter a bus for overnight. It'll be $1,000 each way. We don't have that money. We would like to have that money. If we bought the lottery ticket, we might do. But the chances are, there's more chance of getting struck dead by lightning, I think. So really, can we see out this school year? I've got a proposal in my hard drive. I've written out 5 alternative proposals. If you guys can find money, maybe EE gives us more money for school buses. I've even got quotes to buy a school bus for Pacifica School District. We've gone all out. I can share that document with you. We want to do a SWOT analysis, a feasibility analysis. We want to do what Mountain View did, because I think at the end of the day, it looked like parent drivers were the most affordable thing. Thank you.
Claire P. Claire.
Hi, I'm Claire Sugarakis. I teach 5th grade at Ballamar. Wholeheartedly agree with everything that's been said about field trips so far. On another note, when teachers were looking for ways to get updated technology for their classrooms, they were lucky enough to find PTO willing and able to provide funds for updated printers and other items. Rather than seeing this as an encouraging and creative way to get help from our community, the district's response was to refuse to allow the printers onto the network as they hadn't been purchased by the district. So as teachers and parents were left with a ridiculous catch-22. Our classrooms can't get the latest equipment because the district may not have the available funds. But we also can't turn to a willing and able community for support. How far does this policy go? How much must the district pay to allow equipment to be usable? Would a new keyboard or power cord make a device unusable? This is an absurd policy focusing on rules over reason. I beg the district to make a change to allow our community to provide the support for keeping our classrooms functional.
Christina Lee.
I'm here today to express my concerns about the district's impending updates to the transportation procedures for field trips, and specifically the district's potential ban on parent drivers for field trips. For context, my name is Christina Lee. I am a parent of a 2nd grader and 5th grader at Ocean Shore School. I have served every year as the field trip coordinator for both of my kids' classes, with the exception of the COVID year. I am also a claims attorney with an insurance company that offers sexual misconduct liability insurance, which I understand may be the impetus behind the potential ban. As field trip coordinator, I have seen firsthand how our teachers work hard to match classroom curriculum with field trip experiential learning experiences. If the district bans parent field trip drivers, it will effectively eviscerate field trips as our students know them to be, field trips that our students look forward to, field trips that are a core part of Ocean Shore's experience. These are experiences that many children would not otherwise have outside of school. The undeniable fact is that alternatives to parent field trip drivers are cost prohibitive. Parent field trip drivers are the only way that we are able to have as many field trips as we do. Again, a ban on parent field trip drivers is essentially a ban on field trips. As evidenced by all in attendance who have spoken tonight and have not spoken, many feel strongly that the district should continue allowing parent field trip drivers. We want to work with the district to identify ways to continue allowing parent field trip drivers. I am happy to lend my expertise, whether it is meeting with the district's attorneys, risk managers, or others, or joining a task force dedicated to finding practical solutions that allow for parent field trip drivers. But it doesn't have to be me. As long as some advisory committee or task force is created to explore ways to allow parent field trip drivers, that would be what we request. But before we can really brainstorm solutions, we need to understand the reasoning behind potentially banning parent field trip drivers. Accordingly, today, I kindly ask that the school board provide transparency and share the specific reasons behind the potential ban, and again, form a task force or advisory committee to work together on a mutually beneficial solution. Thank you.
make a note if it's on the same topic, but it's gonna be 20 minutes on the topic.
Oh.
So you can extend your time.
Okay, we have one more, so we should probably just make the motion.
Do I have a motion to extend the time for another 3 minutes?
I'll make a motion to extend the time for 3 minutes.
I'll second that.
Our last speaker on the topic is Jen B.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Jen Brick, and I'm here as a private citizen. I'm also the parent of two Pacifica School District kids, one at Ocean Shore, one went to Sunset Ridge, is now at Terra Nova. I've been a sub at Ocean Shore, Valamar, Sunset Ridge, Cabrillo, and I taught at City College for 16 years. Just for context, I kind of want to just say what Kendra said, but I'm going to echo what a lot of the parents have said tonight. I would like to respectfully ask the board to please pause and consider alternatives and also just the implications of this action, which feels very fast. Please don't act hastily out of fear. Please stand up for the kids in this extremely underfunded district. Field trips are a joy for them, and at Ocean Shore, they're also deeply embedded in the curriculum, so the kids learn so much on the field trips. It's not like just an easy day for the teacher or whatever. It's really important, and they love it. Well, I mean, you know, counter argument, right? And Ocean Shore has, you know, because we heard what Virginia did. I mean, you know, there's so much preparation that goes into these field trips. And Ocean Shore figured out how to do these field trips with the budget that we have, right? With parent drivers. And please consider the alternatives that Kendra mentioned. Mountain View my understanding is they went through this. They ended parent drivers. They couldn't afford the buses, and we can't either, right? So it sounds like they're back to parent drivers with additional safeguards. We love Ocean Shore, and it would never be the same if you took away the field trips. I'm sorry I'm getting a little verklempt, but that is the foundation of this school for 40 years. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to make a directive to possibly Dr. Williams or the cabinet, because there was a mention of a rumor, and I don't like rumors, so if there can be any clarification phone calls to them, that would be helpful. All right, so we are moving on to correspondence.
No letters on
I did receive. I received a lot, but the one correspondence that I received was from Senator Becker, phones in schools. And what was it? Phones in schools. There was a from hall to hall or class to class or something like that. So that was one of the correspondence. And that's all. Have anything?
Are you starting? I'll go ahead, moving on.
Yep.
Okay. First of all, I've attended the Equity Alliance for School Funding, which was luckily my peers took me off to it. It was something at the county. Maybe let you guys talk a little bit more, but essentially all the bottom funded school districts are trying to get together to talk to the county and the state about getting more money, and we're having more equity for our school district. So that so the board is working on that behind the scenes a little bit. I attended the Special Ed Advisory Committee meeting. I want to say it was really well organized, and I am really glad to see what's happening. I feel it's going to help our schools and especially in special ed, just to have clear guidelines on how to do things. I purchased my pony plot ticket this year. I unfortunately didn't win at Valamar. But that happened. And I also have participated in my own life in some things, but let's just say, make sure everyone votes. That'll be it. So that's it.
I had my weekly meetings with Dr. Williams. I also attended the Equity Alliance for School Funding. I would say that it was not attended well, being that us three were probably half of the people there. And the report did show that Pacifica School District is the lowest funded school in San Mateo County. So Senator Becker, I would recommend any parents out there listening, if you go to his webpage, he recorded the Zoom meeting on the telephone, the phones in schools. And San Mateo High School has successfully found a way to remove the phones during instruction, but then give them back to the students during, passing the halls. And we do have to come up with a policy that's due in 2025 for that. Then on my outside of my meetings, I've been researching the school funding inequities in San Mateo County. Once again, we're the lowest ones, and whenever you look at the graphs, when you compare us to even Mountain View, Woodside, here's us in our funding, and here they are in our funding. And it's just not fair. It's an inequity. And then this morning, I stood up with the Ortega parents and the principal on the public sidewalk as a private citizen before school hours to support our children in need.
Thank you. I also attended the Equity Alliance, a school funding meeting at San Mateo County with 3 other board members, meeting with PEP, PTA, and CPAC parents. Also participated in bond issuance committees, met with our labor partners, CSEA, LSCA, school visit, attended the Valimar Fall Festival. Also participated in the Special Ed Advisory Committee meeting, which was excellent. The principals meeting as well. And then last evening, or actually Monday evening, presented at the City Council meeting in honor of Arbor Day and the district's participation annually in planting trees. And also spoke about the art contest and how much our babies enjoy, our students, scholars, enjoy participating in that activity, along with several other engagements.
Can I say one other thing? I just want to address that I was a parent, or am a parent, and I drove on many of these field trips all through the years. Just know that nothing has come in front of us. We haven't made any kind of final decisions. And we really do understand how important those field trips are. Or I always personally do. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. So.
All right, so we're moving on to information items. Number 11, Pacifica School Volunteers presentation. Bridget, Executive Director of PSD.
It's a good time to leave. It's good to see you. Hi, my name is Bridget Hart. I am a parent of a 3rd grader at Sunset Ridge and a volunteer with the PTO. And I recently started working as Executive Director for Pacifica School Volunteers. Thank you for giving me the time to present today. I'll refer to Pacifica School Volunteers as PSV. I know many people here are familiar with PSV, but some are not, and I'm still learning. So thank you for coming along for my first introduction of the organization and hearing what I think PSV can do for our schools. PSV is a small nonprofit organization that was founded during the 1997-98 school year
by Gail Benton Shoemaker and Claire Harrison. There are 2 employees, Rihanna Karstedt, our volunteer coordinator, and me. We both just started over the summer. PSV operates independently from the district, but our sole purpose is to serve schools in the district. 7 active community members make up the board of directors that governs and guides PSV. Our mission is to inspire a love of learning and to advance the academic performance and well-being of students across our district. Watching relationships grow between educators and community members not only benefits the students, but can be a learning experience for all of us too. PSV offers a number of programs throughout the year. First, is in classroom support, where volunteers usually help in the classroom on a weekly schedule. Actually, Nick Sino is a PSV volunteer. We recruit volunteers from the community and when someone signs up, we ask questions about their interests and skills, and then we try to place them in a classroom that's suitable. We also connect with teachers to find out their needs and to ask if they want extra help. We put our efforts into placing volunteers where they most effectively will help students. We also place high school students into classrooms, usually after school, to help teachers with tasks. We currently have 15 volunteers helping in 27 classrooms across the district, in total working over 60 hours a week. We have 15 high school students volunteering weekly, averaging 20 hours a week. The second big thing our organization does is Think Bridge Summer Camp. We run a 4-week summer camp for students K through 8. Our camp offers a more academic curriculum than other local summer camp options, and it's still super fun. Per the curriculum, there are 4 classes: critical thinking, games, music, and computer lab. The amount of learning and creating and growing that happens over these 4 weeks is really impressive. The curriculum was created by an experienced teacher that actually worked in Pacifica School District, Sydney Tyler Parker. And I'll be back to share more when enrollment starts in the new year. Some other things that happen at PSV, we offer literacy trainings for our volunteers, and usually there are 4 per year. We organize read aloud days for schools that want to participate and bring in volunteers to read to each classroom. We also provide a lot of volunteers to participate in the Oceana Senior Exhibitions, where community members evaluate the big projects that high school students have been working on. Our volunteer enrollment process, I'll say a few things about this. I think that maybe some changes are on the horizon, and I think that PSV has the potential to help streamline some of the volunteers and all the things they need to do. Interested volunteers can visit our website or contact our office to complete an application. All our volunteers undergo background check and live scan. Once completed, we meet volunteers for an orientation where we discuss their roles and logistics. And then we match volunteers with teachers based on skills, interests, needs, and availability. If you're a teacher in need of extra support or a member of the community that wants to help students succeed, or if you're a high school student that needs to volunteer as a requirement, please check out our website where you can find forms and sign up.
Does anybody have any questions?
Just thank you for taking it on.
I have a quick question. When is the read aloud and the read aloud days? And may I please get an invitation at least a month in advance, just so I can get work off?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. They're not scheduled yet, but I'm thinking February, March. I'll keep you posted.
No comments. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and so now we're moving on to B 2425. Celebration and recognition of newly certificated and classified staff permanent status.
Good evening, Board President Villalobos, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Williams. Tonight, we would like to congratulate the certificated and classified staff who have moved to permanent status in the Pacifica School District for 2024-2025. For certificated staff, the standard is a 3-year process, starting as a temporary probationary teacher, dependent on the staffing needs of the district for the year of hiring. With the first day of their 3rd year as fully certificated employee becoming permanent. For classified staff, the standard is a 6-month probationary period. We appreciate each and every employee for all their efforts in ensuring and supporting all students have access to rigorous and engaging instruction. Please join me in congratulating the following classified staff. Elizabeth Moore, paraprofessional at Cabrillo. Nicole Parawanyan Fostovsky, paraprofessional Cabrillo. Danita King, paraprofessional Cabrillo. Natalia Parada Hernandez, custodian 1 at Cabrillo. Catherine Fletcher, paraprofessional at Ingrid B. Lacey. Janine Rivera, child nutrition cook at Ocean Shore. Laura Navarro, child nutrition cook at Ocean Shore. Maria Cabrera, custodian 1 at Ocean Shore. Vicente Ramirez Santos, custodian 2 at Ortega. Chandra Lloyd, paraprofessional at Ortega. Emmanuel Gretsch, groundskeeper at District Office. Victor Martinez Mendoza, groundskeeper at District Office. Joseph Sutter, network analyst at District Office. And Elizabeth DiMartini, paraprofessional at Valamar. Also, please join me in congratulating the following certificated staff. Denise Gonzalez, teacher at Cabrillo. Haley Wheatley, teacher at Ocean Shore. Isabella Elmore, teacher at Sunset Ridge. And Shannon Fern, teacher at Valamar School. Thank you.
Now we're moving on to 11C enrollment update. Martha?
Good evening, President Villalobos, trustees, and Dr. Williams. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm going to be giving out an enrollment update, and tucked into the enrollment update will also be a review on our attendance. Next slide. The outcomes of the report tonight will be, of course, to update you on the enrollment numbers and trends for the current school year. To provide information on the district's focus for improving student attendance and reducing chronic absenteeism. We'll be looking into the relationship between attendance and chronic absence and enrollment. And then we'll also have some highlights about the attendance campaign, the 4-week campaign that we just had or just completed, and what our ongoing work and attendance is going to be for the year. Our ACE framework has right there front and center attendance, which has impacts across all the other elements of academics, community engagement, and equity and inclusion. And we have had a really team effort, starting here at the district office, working closely with the principals at our schools, and really putting together a process for working with students and families to increase our attendance as we strive for 95. The other, next please, the next slide, of course, is our profile, which includes the student at the center of our profile. And then, of course, on the outside ring is our systems. So tonight we'll highlight the connection between our systems effectiveness, the adult implementation of our action plans, and the impact that it has on students. First, I wanted to start off by talking about Census Day. I don't know how much the public actually knows about Census Day and what it means for schools. Nationally, we do a census every 10 years. In schools, we do a Census Day every year on the first Wednesday of the year of October, which this year was October 3rd. We take a snapshot of all of our students, and then we submit the report to the state, the CDE, and it becomes part of our CalPADS data. It includes important demographic data on race and ethnicity, Also, free and reduced lunch or alternative income forms. Enrollment and attendance have an interrelationship that impacts the funding that we receive from state and federal levels. Accurate enrollment and attendance data provides us opportunities for grants and ensures we receive all of our entitled funding from state and federal sources. The impact of Census Day and the importance of our accurate and enrollment numbers and complete attendance practices makes for a very exciting October. So the next slide is our enrollment for October 3rd. So my team and I are reviewing enrollment every month. So, you know, the first full week of the month, we print up our attendance reports. And so this year, coincidentally, we decided to do it on October 3rd, which was Census Day. And this is where we stand right now. The previous report shows a slight decrease of about 6 students from the previous report that I made in August. Though I've been going through my emails and we've actually added 4 more students in the last few days. So this number kind of goes up and down from the start of the year. You'll see a little slight increase, slight decrease. But we'll be looking at these numbers and sharing them with our principals every month. Next, I thought that it would be interesting for us tonight to take a look at our demographic data. This demographic data impacts, we look at all of our testing and our academic data based on our demographic data. So it helps us to understand where we are now and any significant changes in our demographics. Comparing our demographics to last year, there haven't been any significant changes and not really any significant changes over the last 4 years. So our socioeconomic status students, that percentage has remained pretty hard fast between 19 and 21%. Our English language learners fluctuate. Our English language learners fluctuate between 7 to 9%. So now they're in the sort of in the low end, and our race and culture data has been staying pretty. The percentages have been very stable in the community. The next slide is a historical look at our enrollment. You can see that from 2016, 17, we've had a steady decline in student enrollment with a especially large bump during the 2021-2022 school year. The Pacifica School District had done a demographer's report in the 16-17 or 17-18 school year. And that report signaled that there would be a steady decline in enrollment. However, we haven't had actually a steady decline in enrollment. We had, as you can see from the graph on the right, there was a pretty big jump, a dip in our enrollment over those course of those 2 years of approximately 400 students. That significant dip in our enrollment was masked by the increase in funding that we received from COVID. So we were still able to deliver significant amounts of resources, even though we had sustained significant enrollment decrease. And so now that we're coming to the tail end of those funding resources, this is partly the reason why we're having to make significant decisions going forward about how we're structuring ourselves. I would guess that had we not had those significant 2 years, it would not be as the conversations wouldn't be as difficult, because you can make slight changes in a decreased enrollment more easily than drastic changes that also came with a decrease in funding. The next slide, please. I wanted to highlight some of our enrollment updates. So post-lottery, we manage our lottery wait list all year long. But post-lottery, at the start of the school year, the majority of our families were able to receive their first school choice. We have a small ongoing wait list. we're continuing to work on online registration. The stage that we're at right now is we're moving our student information system onto the cloud. And that's the first big step. And then we're running all these tests to make sure every part of the student information system is functioning. October 25th, we had a kickoff meeting for online registration where the EduPoint, the company that we're working with, demonstrated all the different kinds of documentation that they maintain, that they offer, so that parents can register their children or maintain the registration online. And from this point, what we do is we see what it is that the product that they have, and we start matching up our documents and our process with the process what they showed us, the package that they showed us. And what we like about EduPoint is that their package is really flexible. There's a number of different kinds of documents that they have that they'll have the capacity to upload our documents. And it will be a flexible system so that as laws and things change, we'll be able to make those changes in the online registration system. Every year, we ask for parents to update their registration for their children in case phone numbers or emergency contacts and any other types of things have changed for them. They'll be able to do that annual update online as well. This is the last year of our manual lottery, and the team is preparing for the various lotteries now. By team, I mean Nicole Ortega. I wanted to just take a minute and just thank Nicole for her professionalism and her consistent and accurate running of the lottery and the enrollment process for many, many, many years. She really did from the beginning of enrollment to the very end, when the child steps into that class, she really helps parents get their children to class in a way where they feel comfortable and confident. So just hats off to Nicole. And I'm really grateful that this part of it is going to be going online. There's still going to be work associated with it, but it's not going to be so labor and paper intensive. And I think that will sort of ease all of our minds, including hers. Next slide is just a blank attendance slide. So we'll go to the next slide. I want to start talking about attendance and the work we're doing to strive for 95. There is a difference between truancy and chronic absence. The district and our team is kind of running two prongs of monitoring student absence. One is to monitor truancy. Truancy counts only unexcused absences, and it's how we run our legal process for attendance. The attendance is compulsory, and so we have to monitor students' attendance, and we have to respond when students' become truant, which is more than three unexcused absences. So we monitor our unexcused absences, and we start implementing a process that's dictated to us by the county and the state to investigate why those absences are happening and intervene. Chronic absence counts all absences, excused, unexcused, and suspensions, and it emphasizes the impact. Our remediation emphasizes with families and students the impact of missed days and uses sort of community-based positive strategies. We really take a page out of Attendance Matters, and we use their materials extensively and their recommendations for contacting parents and working with students to ensure that students are in school every day. So our updates on attendance is that we did do our first 30-day SARB report, and our first parent letters were sent out. So that would be on the truancy piece. And also, we're just about to run our second SARB report for November. And for students who have significant absences already, we're scheduling meetings with parents, both at the school and at the district level. And I just wanted an update on as we strive for 95, the district is currently at 95.02%. And I think if you remember when Mr. Bartfeld presented to you in the spring, if our attendance stays over 95%, that will increase the amount of money we receive for our average daily attendance, somewhere near $900,000. So far, we're doing really well. We are seeing some trends in specific schools and in particular subgroups. And the program coordinator of student services and myself, so it's Jean Bellinger and myself, are addressing it through meetings with families. And we're also setting up meetings with principals to determine the best way to target attendance at the schools, either through subgroups, through individuals, or with other kinds of family meetings. All of our schools participated in a 4-week formal attendance campaign, which was really an information campaign. There were letters, communications home to parents. There were communications home to parents. There was incentive programs that happened. The posters were plastered all over the place, and communications came from both the school and from the district. I also wanted to note that our chronic absent rate is at 16.8% in the first 30 days. Our chronic absent rate for the year last year was 18.7%. So it's down slightly. I'm encouraged by the number because chronic absence after the first 30 days is 3 absences, excused or unexcused. And chronic absence at the end of the year is 18 absences. So the idea would be to really look at students who had significant chronic absence, more than 3 days, say 9 or more, and really target them to ensure that by the end of the year, they're in school more often than they're not. This is another look at just highlighting chronic absence again. In 22-23, we're at 19.37, 22-23-24, and then current school year is at 16.8. It would be, we're hoping our work in the attendance arena really brings down this number. I think prior to the pandemic, we were in the 7% range. So we have a little bit of work to do, but again, that we're trending in the right direction, which is nice. One of the ways that we're really starting to dig a little bit deeper. You can go to the next slide. We're starting to dig a little deeper in the way that we do our attendance practices, which is not just, oh, this kid is absent this much, let's tell them to come to school. But we're recognizing that kids don't come to school for different reasons. And that if we understand what those reasons are, we can better match our action plan for getting them to school. So in working with Attendance Works, they've identified these 4 root causes and then description underneath of what they mean: barriers, aversion, disengagement, and misconception. We've been doing a little root cause analysis of ourselves. And next slide. And some of the prominent reasons why we're seeing chronic absence in our district is academics, an issue with engagement and understanding of what is required regarding school assignments and classwork, maybe even feeling disconnected from the material. This would fall under the category of root causes of aversion. Health-related issues. Some students have chronic health-related issues or acute health issues. And so you can see a student not coming to school because of aversion or academics would require something different than someone who's unable to come to school because of a health matter, which is a barrier. Peer conflict is also an aversion and could also be considered disengagement. Socioeconomic challenges from the family family may have immediate or crisis needs that impact student attendance. That would be considered a barrier. And then mental health needs, generalized school avoidance or clinical anxiety and or depression. Those would be barriers. Those would be root causes of barriers and disengagement. And going through a process of doing a root cause analysis, we would be able to look at what kind of plan we would put together to help the family. I recently learned of unique ways that we could use home hospital to help people who have health-related issues to be able to maintain their schoolwork and their attendance. Here's the attendance campaign. The next slide is the attendance campaign, which I bumbled through before because here's the actual work of the attendance campaign. It was a 4-week campaign that focused extensively on communication to parents and students about the importance of attending every day. There were classroom activities that our teachers did to develop posters that promoted attendance on each campus. And schools are utilizing recommended incentive programs. I know that the incentive programs for attendance can be controversial, but there are recommended incentive programs that acknowledge increased and consistent attendance at school. And the incentive programs have been well received and are ongoing. And the final slide regarding our ongoing attendance work is to manage truancy with student and family meetings on school sites and to determine root causes and develop a plan for attendance and improvement. So we really want to start a process where Jean and I and the principals have a regular cadence to how we're reviewing attendance and addressing it with families so that it becomes an automatic part of all of our processes. We're working with the county to participate in a school attendance review board so that truancy can be handled consistently and effectively. And we have our ongoing communication networks, Parent Square, direct messages from teachers, principals, and student services. So we're utilizing those communication channels to continue to communicate with parents to surface any issues that we might be able to help address. And then, of course, our monthly review of attendance data and root cause analysis and plan development. And that's all that I have on attendance and enrollment. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
No, glad to hear the attendance is going up. It's working.
It's working, yeah. Yes.
All right, thank you. And we're moving on. I think it's 11D CAS scores analysis for Pacifica School District. And that's Dr. Carissa Bowman.
Good evening, board trustees, Superintendent Williams. Going to give you a quick overview through the teaching and learning department about CAS and what that data means and what we're doing to help kids at all levels. The next slide, please. The outcomes for, next slide, please. The outcomes for this meeting is to just have a comprehensive understanding of the current scores, also looking at specific ways that we're going to be able to help kids who are having challenges, and then really working hard to engage our family and having family involvement increase. Next slide, please. A quick overview of what CASP is. We have a math part that our students take. We also have science our students take and ELA. This year there is, previously there was the California Spanish assessment, and there are some kids who have qualified for that, so we'll be administering that as well this year. And why and what we do this for, why we do this is to provide students and teachers with information and data on how to improve instruction. It's about making data-informed practices. And I'm sorry, Joe, I'm on ELA and mathematics. So there's a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth take the ELA and mathematics, and then in grade 11. The test is computerized. Next slide, thank you. The test is computerized. It's multiple choice. They have constructed responses, and then there's also performance tasks. And we start testing in January. The window opens. We like to test as far as towards the end of the school year as we possibly can, because that allows us to get more instruction in and cover more units before our kiddos take the test. So you'll see it with us between March, April, and May. And again, that's just to give the kids more time to learn more information so that they do well. And so what everyone probably wants to know is, where are we now? And so on the next slide, there is a graph that shows Pacifica, San Mateo County, and California. And it just gives you a look at where we are in comparison. And so in this graph, San Mateo is the top line, Pacifica is that middle line, and California is underneath Pacifica. You'll see that we are following the trend of a slight decline in meeting standards and ELA English. One of the things just to notice is that our decline in student performance has been a little bit faster than what we've seen at the San Mateo or at the state level. We went from 60 to 53, where we're seeing others just go down by 3 or 4%, but we are mirroring somewhat what's going on throughout the state. The other side also is, the next slide will look at math, and you'll see that Pacifica is at the highest level, then San Mateo, and then California. And again, our decline is slightly faster than the state and San Mateo, but we still are mirroring that decline. The next slide. This one I thought was very interesting. And when we look at Pacifica compared to other similar school districts, they put 16 similar districts together. And for English, we are 13th, and for math, we are 13th. But if you turn to the next slide, please, this is where this information comes from. And so you'll see these are throughout the state of California. The comparison was made by the state in regards to enrollment, to size, looking at unduplicated students. And so it's just a comparison overall with the state. The next slide compares Pacifica with San Mateo districts. And there were 23 counties in San Mateo. We were 15th in English language arts and 11th in math. On the next slide, please. What you'll notice though is San Mateo also has high schools, and we were in that comparison block for high schools and middle schools. And so if you remove the high schools, we are 11th and 8th. And so we're right there in that middle and have the opportunity to move forward. ELA, next slide, thank you. Next slide. So this is a historical view of CASP and where we've been. And the blue represents kids who are above standard, green at standard, yellow, approaching standard, or almost to that standard base. And then red are students and area of challenge that we really need to get the supports for. And you'll see that there's been a pretty stable scores. And what we'd like to see is that green and blue grow and our yellow and green go down. So if you look at the next slide, we've had our passing rate has been in 2020, 49%, 2021, 48%, 51%, and 52%. So we're staying right there around the 50% mark. We're seeing similar things in math as well. Again, you'll see the historical views. There's a little more variance. In 2020, 21, we had a large number of yellow and green. That has since kind of evened out. And then 20,000, excuse me, 2021 and 2022, we're looking more towards those stable numbers that were marrying what we had with English and language arts. And the quick view, if you go to the next slide, please. This is how we are doing in regards to the passing rate. And so 2021, we're around 44%. And then we decline in the next 2021, 22. Again, that's marrying the state. Our decline is slightly faster, but it's the state and San Mateo are seeing a decline. And I know Ms. Ladd brought up the COVID, and we are having that COVID effect like all the districts throughout California and throughout the nation. But I also wanted to take a moment to celebrate. I think we're always looking at our children and how to help them in some of our lower performing schools. But I wanted to let you know that we have some great scores because our students are doing very, very well. And so if you look at the ELA CAS score, we had 4 students who had 2,800 or plus. So they were either at a perfect score or very close to a perfect score. And this was for ELA. we had students at Valmar and we had students at IBL who were at the perfect score or very close to it. Now, the next slide, this is just a down and dirty quick view. We could look at percentages and we could look at raw numbers, but what I really wanted you to see is that at every school, we have kids who are at 2,700 or above. And when we're at 2,700 or above, that means that they are above standard or going right up to above standard, and they're doing very well. And so this is just a visual of how we're doing in ELA. So kids getting perfect scores and a lot of kids getting 2,700 or above. The next slide just breaks that down by race. And again, the data is more raw, but it's to give you a picture that all of our different populations, ethnicities, races within Pacifica are having students at that 27 plus. And so either right at the standard or above the standard. Then I also just broke it down for you for grade. And when we look at 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, we have kids there. We haven't seen kids at the 3rd and 4th grade have 2,700 and plus. And that just gives us the information that that's something that we need to look at. What's happening in 3rd and 4th grade? Is it the phonics program, curriculum, the scope and sequence? And so this gives us good information to look at to see what we can do to improve. The next slide looks at math. And we had 13 students who either had a perfect score or very close to a perfect score in math throughout the district. And I'm happy to say that Cabrillo, IBL, Ocean Shore, and Valmar all had students at this very high level, so above the standard. And we have multiple races, and you'll get a clearer picture of the data again. Raw data, but we have students at every single school with 2,700 or above. And so we do the same thing that we did with the English and language arts, and we looked at it by race and ethnicity and culture. And again, we are seeing most of our different groups are doing well and have students represented within that 2,700 frame and doing very well or meeting above standard. And then again, we look at the grade level and we see, next slide, please. Excuse me. We see that 3rd grade is sticking out there again in math. And so that's something that we need to look at. But we do have students that are doing really well at that 2,700 level. And both English and language arts are 7th and 8th graders. There's more students in 7th and 8th grade at that higher standard. And that's why you're seeing that incline or the advance or higher numbers. And so these are the scores. So what's next? What do we do with these scores? And we have a plan, and you've heard about it throughout different board meetings and different opportunities for us to speak. Usually at the beginning of the presentation, I talk about ACE and the learner profile that Ms. Ladd also brought up. But I wanted to show you this graphic and know that we are using those tools as a way to improve instruction. And so our expectation is that all students, we want all students to meet at grade level with supports or without supports, whatever is best for that student. How do we get there? One of the ways that we get there is through our ACE or our ACE framework. That's helping us support, and we work collaboratively together with attendance and tiered supports. Then we are looking at our LCAP goals. Our LCAP goals are going to help us build our SIPSA. And then one of the really exciting things going on are these SMART goals and data analysis. We have been building a comprehensive data dialogue framework that the superintendent and myself will be going to schools or schools coming to us, modeling how to do the data dialogues, demonstrating best practices, and then what to do with that data once you have that. And so the framework is almost finished, and the dialogues are starting soon. So we're really excited about that opportunity. And then the next slide gives you a picture of all the things that I mentioned. When we're planning PD or we're planning curriculum or instruction, we're always looking at the alignment. ACE we have as a support. We're working towards our LCAP goals, and then the learner profiles are always considered and put into practice when we're building the programs. So what are we doing? One of the things this year is we're increasing the information that we are giving to families. We are communicating regularly with them. Next slide, please. We have a few things going on where report cards are currently being revised by teachers. Every grade level is representative. Every school is representative. Library media technicians, others are in the process of helping us with these report cards. And one of the things that we've agreed upon as a committee is that the report card is one aspect of it, but a guide for families are user friendly. So what does this information mean? When I see a score of 4, what does that really mean about my child? We're also inviting families to be involved in the decision-making. We had our first DLAC meeting last week. We have another one coming up in November, and being very involved in getting opportunities for parents to connect with us. Through Big Lift and through partnering with student services, we're going to be launching a parent academy. The parent academy is through the PTA framework, and it's a set of lessons where it really starts like, what do schools do? What does the school board do? Where does our funding come from? In a general sense, to give that background information and hopefully have families become more comfortable with coming into our school building. Next slide, please. Thank you. I spoke out of turn, but I mentioned the data dialogues. This framework that you see here represented, it has 5 through 8 phases. That is a framework that through teacher input, cabinet, superintendent, principals, we've all been looking at it, adding to it, giving feedback. And that's why I say that we're almost done with it. We're incorporating the input, incorporating the feedback, and then we'll be ready to move on to the actual dialogue meetings. Why are we doing the dialogues? I mean, really, it's to help kids. We want to make sure that kids are doing better. We want to make sure that there's improvement. And there's a foundation that we can build upon. The great news is 50% of or approximately 50% of our kids are doing well. And now we can build upon that and look at what we need to do and incorporate that into the Pacifica way of doing things. Next slide, please. You might not have to listen to me much longer because I'm going to lose my voice while I'm up here. Sorry. I just wanted to give you an overview of the teams for the district for the data dialogues. You'll see that the superintendent and cabinet are very involved in the aspect of creating the framework, but the framework won't work unless we have the school site teams. And so they are both very, very important to the dialogues, but we're looking and using different things. We can create a framework, but if it isn't easy to administer, if it's not user-friendly or too comprehensive or cumbersome for the teachers, then it's not going to be used. So we're being very careful and thoughtful about how we're doing the programming. We also have professional development going on. Some of the things going on, I am at schools every week. We do weekly check-ins with the principal. We have also secured that time that if I'm not there meeting, another cabinet member may be there meeting the Big Lift. Kate, who's fabulous, may be there going over Dibble's data. And so that time is there. We have the professional learning. November 1st, Friday. I'm super happy to say that we have training going on for our general education teachers, our special education teachers, facilities, maintenance, secretaries, principals, school assistants, and library media technicians. And so when we're looking at professional development, we're looking at all of our community in the school to give them skills to help kids. And we need to provide the training, and everyone's been very positive and happy to be part of it. And I'm super excited that it's going to be that large of a training with that diverse type of population. We also, in addition to professional development, we have, or another part of professional development is that there's a newsletter that comes out of my office every month. It gives information on equity, inclusion. It gives ideas for lessons and resources. Any announcements, technology is involved, and hey, do you know about this resource? The other thing that I know you've heard about in past meetings is when I entered, I went through POs and I went through subscriptions and trying to find out what we had, what we didn't have. And I've been working really closely with the library media technicians and our tech team. And Friday, when we do the professional development, the teachers and staff are going to have a list of here's the app that we have. This is the link to it. And then some training, not that we don't want to do training on all of them, but what we're finding is that people don't know what we have. And I want to make sure that information gets out there and then backwards plan for the training and what we need for that. And lastly, if we, you can go about 6 more slides, I think. I'm sorry, I didn't notice. Next one, please. The Big Lift, you've heard about it a couple of times, but Big Lift is also part of like, what are we doing now? What do we have in place for our kids? All of our K-3 teachers are trained on DIBELS. We also have trained our principals on the science of reading. Everybody is getting the science of reading on November 1st. And we've also been able, at a preliminary stage, we are able to offer some additional professional development through San Mateo County and hopefully Core Learning, which is a great program that Dr. Williams, myself, and Ms. Snyder all went to, and we all walked out of there with new information. And we're really excited about that possibility here, and even more excited that we were able to get San Mateo to pay for it, and we don't have to. And so we're really happy about that opportunity. And so overall, there's things that Pacifica needs to work on, but we have a great foundation to be able to do that. And then we have kids who are doing extremely well at the perfect score, or even almost perfect. And again, just being able to recognize what we are doing and what we are doing well. Are there any questions?
I have a couple of questions. So the first question that I have is on the similar districts. Do we know, first of all, thank you for this presentation.
Sure.
A lot of good information that we were able to study in advance. Have we contacted these districts to understand what programs, what practices they might have in place? I mean, some of them are neighbors in Millbrae that have a very similar school environment, sometimes more unduplicated students, more students with ELL, but just to kind of compare and learn from some of those districts, whether they're in San Mateo County or somewhere else in the state.
Absolutely.
I'm just curious if there's an opportunity to do outreach to that.
Absolutely. And we're at the beginning stage, but we have been able to make a connection with Jefferson High School District and Jefferson Elementary School. That partnership is at the beginning stage, and we also are working with Millbrae and their educational support services. They are in the literacy program and also implementing Big Lift for the first time. And so we're sharing documents and just helping one another through it. There are some districts that have been doing it for 4 or 5 years, and Millbrae and ourselves are new. And so that's been very helpful. And then above and beyond that, we've, with Dr. Williams, we met with Skyline College this, I know it's not on the San Mateo, but wanted to let you know, we also are building partnerships at the college level because it's really important to get enrichment. We need kids that when they're in 8th grade and able to take Algebra 1, that they have the opportunity to take Algebra 1. And working with the other school districts and working with Skyline and bringing that all together. And because we are a smaller district, it not only helps us, but the other smaller districts that they're comparing to, that partnership is really benefiting all of the kids in both districts.
Yeah, so very specifically, I guess what I'm wondering is if there's an opportunity for our district to contact Solana Beach, Del Mar, Menlo Park,
Absolutely.
Burlingame, Eureka. Obviously, this is extra work, but I think understanding what does your special education program look like? What does your program for ELLs look like? What types of intervention programs might you have in place for students who are struggling? Just almost getting a comparison of these. I feel like it would be really interesting to look at to see, is there something either we're doing all of it and we just have different outcomes, and so maybe it's an implementation question, or are there things that might be out there that and not to say that we're not doing everything we can. I know that we're doing everything we can think of. I think the question is, are there things that other districts and other schools have thought of that we can learn from?
Absolutely. And I haven't called like each district at this point, but we are part of the PLCs through Beak Lift. And so we have that direct contact. But there's also PLCs with these districts of San Mateo through the San Mateo County Office of Education. And 2 times a month, it's a networking, sharing information meeting. And it's an open dialogue and agenda. So I have been able, and others in Pacifica have been able to gather ideas for that. And the other thing that we have with not specifically each one like in a phone call, but we are contacting similar directors. And what are you working on? One of the big pushes this year is our curriculum. And we've reached out to probably almost half of these. What curriculum are you using? How is it going? What is going on with it? So in the big picture of the programming, we haven't made it there yet, but we are definitely depending on some input from other districts in regards to the curriculum, and then hopefully expanding that network.
Awesome. And also just looking at districts outside of San Mateo, I guess is an opportunity. And then the other question that I had is on the Big Lift PD and work that you guys have been doing. What's been the feedback or response from principals and teachers? And I guess specifically, what's their biggest question? Like what question keeps coming up that you hear from them?
So Dibbles is an assessment that had to be implemented to be able to implement Big Lift. And when we started, we had to have it in as a baseline by a deadline. And so one of the things that I've heard is that at the beginning of the year, bringing in the new program was difficult and having training. And so there's a couple of things that we're doing with it. One is we're re-offering the Dibbles training, and we also are training, the principals are going to be trained on it. So that's one thing that we're hearing and I think that was just unfortunately something that we had to do because of the requirements of the grant. However, we have a lot of excitement building around using Dibbles and the connection to the curriculum and moving forward. Other questions are what fourth, fifth, and sixth grade teachers are like, what about us? And we're also looking at a plan to incorporate Dibbles at a higher level so that we have a straight stream of assessment. So we can look at who at kindergarten and then all the way through 8th grade. Right now we have lots of multiple assessments, so it's harder to track their progress. And so we're also looking at that. Reflection and looking back at the implementation of Big Lift, I think the Dibbles was probably the hardest part, beginning of the year, teachers not in their classrooms, but us being able to make the requirements for the grant is really what pushed us. And so we also will be offering Dibbles training throughout the year for just because of the busyness. And then next year, as part of the new teacher hire, they'll also be trained in Dibbles so that we're not in the same place that we were in the beginning of this year with the direct implementation.
And with the adoption of Dibbles, was there an assessment that we stopped doing? Or is this an addition?
Sure, the Fondness and Purnell, it was not, wasn't canceled. It was as they wanted to, optional. The reason being with the increase of Dibbles, then we were also asking for Math iReady and Reading iReady. We didn't want to bombard the teachers with another assessment in that small time frame. And if we made it optional, because if not, there would have been kids who had had to take Dibbles, iReady, Reading, and Math, and then Fondness and Purnell, and then if they were English learner, LPAC. And as we looked at that, we made that aspect optional, and not every teacher was already using it. And so that is the optional part, but all the supplies, materials are there for teachers to do it. Yeah,
We have any other questions?
thank you.
You.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we are on E, public report on developer fees, government code section 66001D and 66006B. Dr. Davis.
Good evening, Board President, members of the board, Superintendent Williams. Tonight I want to present to you an informational item. Item E, public report for developer fees, which satisfies government code 6601D and 66006B, which basically requires school districts that collect fees from developers and have funds that are unspent over 5 years, and also to report out how we have expended the funds for the previous year. With that being said, the public notification was posted about 18 days ago, which meets the satisfies the requirement of 15 days. And for 23-24 capital facilities fund unaudited actuals, our source data compiled says that we had $171,904.27. During 23-24, the district collected $33,712.53 in developer fees and $2,838.26 in interest. During 23-24, the district spent $143,011.45 on the Valmar D Wing expansion project. The ending balance as of June 30th, 2024 was $64,923.61. And that concludes the report.
Are there any questions?
No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we are on F, first reading. Personnel Board Policy Updates, March, June, July, September 2024. Dr. Torres.
Good evening, Board President Villalobos, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Williams. Tonight, we bring to you the first reading of updated Personnel Board policies and administrative regulations for the months of March, June, July, and September 2024. There have been many updates to reflect new law, new federal regulations, and new court decisions during these months. The Pacifica School District works to ensure board policies and administrative regulations are up to date to support the students and staff of the local community. CSBA provides sample bylaws, board policies, and administrative regulations reflecting any legislative changes quarterly with descriptions identifying the major changes in revised materials, as well as editorial changes or technical revisions. If no substantial changes are made at the first reading, these updated policies and regulations will be placed on consent for adoption at the next board meeting. Tonight, we would like to recommend that the Board of Trustees review and discuss the proposed updates to the following personnel board policies and administrative regulations for the following: non-discrimination in employment policy, lactation accommodation, employee use of technology, sex discrimination and sex-based harassment, Title IX sex discrimination and sex-based harassment complaint procedures, employee notification, temporary substitute personnel, temporary athletic team coaches, leaves, personal illness injury leave, personal leaves, personal illness injury leave, recruitment and selection, criminal record check, dismissal, suspension, disciplinary action, bargaining units, employee safety, work-related injuries, and dismissal, suspension, disciplinary action. One highlight of an update I would like to share is the update on administrative regulation on sex discrimination and sex-based harassment. This regulation has been updated to include material related to sex discrimination in addition to sex-based harassment. Additionally, the regulation has been updated to emphasize that the district does not discriminate on the basis of sex in any of its programs or activities and prohibits such conduct and complies with Title IX.
All right. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope.
So do we want to discuss all these or do we?
We reviewed them in the.
Yeah,
first-
no,
there's a lot in
yeah,
there.
so-
Yeah,
Nobody has any
no
questions?
questions.
Thank you. And then we are moving on to G, first reading, instruction policies, update 6,000. CSBA, March 2024, Dr. Bowman.
Nice. Welcome again, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Williams. As part of Pacifica School District, to ensure that board policies and administrative regulations are up to date to support the students and the staff of the local community, this is the first reading of instructional policies update in the 6,000. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees review and discuss the proposed updates to the policies or administrative regulations of 6115 ceremonies and observances, 6141.2 recognition of religious beliefs and customs, and 6175 migrant education.
Does anybody have any questions? Nope. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and now we are moving on to action items 12A, iReady Math Research Agreement. Dr. Bowman.
Nice to see you again. So we are, iReady is our current assessment for reading and math, and we also use it for progress monitoring. The iReady math is looking at personalized integration of programs and enrichment. They have asked us to be part of a research study. There's no ask of students, teachers, or staff members. It's just access to our data, and there's no identifying factors on that data. So we asked the Board of Trustees to please approve the memorandum of understanding between Pacifica School District and iReady, and that's through Curriculum Associates.
Sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, we were probably gonna ask the same.
Well,
question. I'm just curious, what we get back from this. Do we get access to data once the thing's over, the research is over, or what?
Yes, so we get access to the data, and then we are also going to get supplies and materials that are being launched next year. We get early release, and there's no cost for those for us.
Okay, great, thank you.
That was my question. But my other question very quickly is Curriculum Associates doing this research or is a third party doing this research?
It's Curriculum Associates.
Thank you.
Thank you. What was that?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll make a
sorry.
motion to approve the data sharing agreement with iReady or Curriculum Associates.
And I'll second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. We are on 12B provisional internship permit request for certificated employees. Action item, Dr. Chavez.
Good evening, Board President Villalobos, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Williams. Tonight, we would like to bring forth a request for approval for additional provisional internship permits. In order to exercise additional options in which to fill our vacant certificated positions, the Human Resources Department will need to submit additional provisional internship permit request applications to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing for approval for the teachers listed below. Yvette Ruiz, kindergarten teacher at Sunset Ridge School. Tori Turley, 8th grade teacher at Valamar School. Dylan Bedander, elementary music teacher, district office. Erica Lauren Rodriguez, 5th grade teacher at Cabrillo School, and Gabriela Galleguillos, 1st grade teacher at Sunset Ridge School. Therefore, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the provisional internship permit request for the listed certificated employees.
Are there any questions? Okay, do you have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, please raise your hands. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we are on number 13, Board of Trustees, Superintendent's recap and FEMA agenda items. Do you have anything to recap, Linda?
No, I don't think so.
After that?
No.
No, but I did just want to underpin the enrollment update. You know, this year looks like we're about 2% down in students. That can go up or down over the course of the year. But now that kind of directly hits our revenues potentially by more than 2% down. And so I just wanted to highlight that that enrollment number decreasing further pressures the funding that we have available this year to support students by at least 2%, potentially more.
I just want to thank everybody for the reports. It was a lot of good information. And then I just wanted to also, come to the next one. That's it. Have anything?
I just want to thank everyone, and then also just to clarify, there was a guidance provided.
Guidance.
Thank you. Not
It's the wrong
directive.
word,
Yeah.
sorry.
But guidance, I know what you mean. But guidance provided regarding field trips, and we will come forth with a presentation to outline the reasons. Nothing has happened. No one has been told that we're eliminating field trips. And so there are a lot of rumors swirling. And so we will address those rumors, but also bring forth a presentation by January to the board. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? No? Okay. So the meeting is adjourned at 7:59 PM.
Recording stopped.